Hey guys, I just wanted to show you a couple of things from the fight or the match versus um, the team we're going to be playing. I think they actually have a pretty solid understanding of Mauga comp. They really like to play Moira over Lucia or Moira over Kiriko almost always, but you'll see that in the notes. But something that I think this team does really well is that they play really good like domino theory or like five-sided die theory, where it's like, kind of like I want us to be separate but together, right? Like this connectedness, right? We're not necessarily all together, but we're separate but connected, right? So let's look at a couple fights from like this, and this is like what I want us to do, and I'm going to kind of like propose like how we deal with this, right? So something that is important is like they are on Genji Vendetta. They want to hard run it down, right? And they recognize like, hey, we need to play range, but we don't need to play like a bitch. We don't need to play with cowardice. So they draw a line in the sand, right? And this is something that we struggle with. It's accepting the fact that eventually they will be able to run on us, and there's nothing we can do about it. So let's just make it really expensive. And they isolate their Reaper, which is really good, right? This short angle, right? Or the Moira can help here and here. The Mauga can run in and easily support this, right? And they play for this angle, right? They play their range, they play for this angle, but look, right? And then as soon as they set up this angle, right, they don't just sit here passively and be like, cool, Reaper guy, do Reaper things on the angle while we poke. No, they capitalize on it, and they win a really good resource trade, right? Really good resource trade. And they still keep the angle, and look at this, right? Really good. They're not abandoning their angle. They're creating this short angle, right? Really good stuff. And then this enemy team here just ignores them. And then this is the second thing they do really well. They really do a good job of fanning out, right? During engages, they fan out like this, which is really important, right? They fan out in a way where they can shoot on multiple angles, right? If this is us and they kited this way, we lose, right? We lose this fight straight up, right? Because this Mauga gets a good slam, right? What this Mauga should have done is he should have slammed here, right? Because if this Mauga had slammed on this right side, on this Lucio, or it just stopped like a little bit shorter here, right, slammed right here, would have enabled his team to deal with this Reaper and not enabled the team to web out, right? Because if he had slammed here, then he can take this cover, right? So really good play from them. Now, what should red team have done in this situation? Well, red team has a couple of options. Number one, their Mauga needs to slam a little bit shorter and just take a front to back trade, and while this Reaper gets cleared out. Number two, 5-man run on this Reaper, right? I don't think he had Wraith, or did he have Wraith? I think he had Wraith. Yeah, he never lost Wraith. But yeah, 5-man this Reaper, or 4-man this Reaper, right? Just be like, okay, Mauga's going to stay here and run, and then we 4-man swing this Reaper, force him out with Wraith, right? If the Mauga tries to run in, counterpin. Hit the counterpin. That's a must, right? If we miss the counterpin, we're in a shit spot, right? This is not a situation in which I feel like we can confidently run past this Reaper, because the Reaper is involved in this team fight, right? If we run past this Reaper, he's involved, right? He's going to kill this Lucio here. He's going to apply a lot of pressure here, right? He's already instantly applying pressure on this Vendetta right here, right? Already applying pressure on this Genji. Like, he's evolved in the team fight. He was not left behind. He was too close to run away from, right? Second thing we can do is, or third thing we can do, which I think is just an interesting idea, is since we have, in this situation, we know the Reaper's here on the right, and they engage, we stable. We can deny this Reaper's angle by flipping them out. We go this way, right? We can deny the Reaper's angle by flipping them out. I don't know how much I like this idea, because it might take too long, but it's just something to think about, because if we rotate from here and we take the fight from this way, right, the enemy team will probably be playing something like this with the Reaper here or here. It is a lot easier for us to clear the Reaper from this direction, because we can look down this door and shoot the Reaper without having to turn the corner, right? If we turn the corner here and have to pay attention to this, we have to turn our backs to the enemy, which is something we never want to do. But here, we can turn the corner and still be looking the same direction. So just something to consider. Another fight they do a really good job of this on is on second point, right? This is a good fight from them. I'll talk about this really quickly. It's just a silly fight, right? They realize, like, one, they get a pick, right? They kill, they get a pick early here. So their Lucio's coming back from spawn. I'll show this kill. Right, their Lucio dies, but they also just realize they have a huge ult disadvantage. So they take a silly fight, right? They walk up super hard and aggressively and take a silly fight. Now, what I would have done differently in this silly fight is the Reaper needs to be behind them, right? The Reaper in this moment needs to have walked down here and looked to TP, like, on this corner, right? Like, if this Reaper should have TP'd on this corner, like, now. And then they should have ran in and gone, right? Right, the Reaper needs to create a flank. But because they front to back, and the Reaper is super late on the flank, like, look, the turn happened. Look, here's the turn. You ready? Turn happens now. They shout, right? The Reaper needs to be here now, and they're not. So they take a turn, and then as soon as the Reaper TP's in, look at what their Mauga does. Backs up. Right? This is a mistake, right? But the idea was good, right? They understand silly fights. They will take silly fights on you. Be ready for that, right? But anyway, this is just a fight of the enemy team feeding, right? The Vendetta just gets caught out in the cage and insta dies. But I want you to pay attention to this. This is something that, like, I want us to do, right? Really good job of doing, right? Is they put their Reaper or their flex DPS on an island, right? They put their flex DPS on an island, right? If we had a Xion, right, I think that our Xion should probably... Where should our Xion play? Because I think our Xion could start here, right? I think our Xion could start here and then kite back to point. But maybe our Xion, like, starts here and looks to rotate around here. Trying to think about where I'd put a Xion, but I think we just play this as Reaper, right? Because I really think angles are important. Or maybe if we had a Xion cast, maybe we play this up a little bit more. Nah, I don't know. Let me think for a minute. If we had a Xion, I would say probably put our Mauga Xion here, so our Mauga has a little bit more care, or our Xion has a little bit more care, and then put our Cass and Lu and whatever, our Kiri, like, back here. So we have a little bit of angle pressure. But what they do really well here is they put their Reaper on an island again, right? And again, they draw a line in the sand. They say, hey, at this point, we just need to take a fight, right? Us, knowing us, we might make the mistake of being like, hey, we have the Cassidy, we have the poke comp, we need to kite all the way and give up this space, right? We need to give up all this map space, right? They only give up what they have to, and they retake immediately. So look at this. Enemy team goes in, Reaper gets booped, unfortunately, right? So they give up a little bit of map space, right? But the fight started, right? They want this back. They don't just give it up, they want this back. They're using tools to take this space back, right? And the Reaper, right, on that island that was forgotten, immediately re-enters the fight. It has a really good angle, and look at this webbing. Really well done. They kite in this beautiful circle, right? This beautiful semicircle, right? They have a 3-man angle on the Xion. They have a 3-man angle on the Vendetta. One of them is going to die, right? And additionally, they take the space back immediately, right? They say, okay, cool, let's walk back up, right? And this Reaper angle, so potent, really potent, right? Now, the Reaper got tunnel visioned on the Lucio, who's 1. I don't even think they're going to be able to get the kill, right? Which they could have just killed that Vendetta right in front of them. But the Lucio ends up getting the kill, which is fine, right? But still, but, like, look at this webbing. Look at this webbing. I mean, their Moira is kind of in nowhere land. Does their Moira have fade? Yeah, their Moira has fade, so I guess it's okay because they're chasing the kill with Cole, right? And the Reaper's here to support. But, like, angles matter on Mauga comp, right? It's just how you develop them, right? They start stacked and then web immediately, right? This is how you play Mauga comp well, is you start stacked, maybe you send one person on an angle, and then you web the angle, right? That's how you play Mauga comp, right? It's really good from them. Like, they do this super duper well. And red team just finds themselves stuck in the middle every time. And so how do we break this as red team, right? Let's talk about what red team could have done better, right? So, red team walks in. This is fine. But in this moment, red team needs to cast their web, right? This is also tough because red team doesn't have any support ults. They use all of them. But red team in this moment needs to make a web like here, right? I want their Shion here. I want their Vendetta here. I want Lucio Kiri like here and here, right? Like what they end up doing is they all in on the same angle. They all go left, which allows them to come right. See? Slow it down. Right, in this moment, they've all conceded to the left side of the map. Right? This is tough because it's an old fight, right? Really, from red team's perspective. I think red team honestly should have maybe forced point. I'm trying to think about how red team would have done this better. But in this situation, it's like we are going to lose all of this map space on the right. And so we just get forced out into this little room. So, red team coming in here. Also, like, again, we could just, like, shoot their Reaper out a little bit more. Like, did they see the Reaper? Yeah, they see the Reaper. Right? If we poke out this Reaper and force Wraith, that's helpful. That's very helpful. But honestly, this is just an ult fight too. Like, they just have ults, we don't. Or red team doesn't. But I think, like, fundamentally on a macro level, like, the blue team played that very well. We'll go to one of the fights over here, and then we'll call it quits. Okay, let's talk about retaking with blue, right? Do they win this fight? I think they do. No, they don't. Oh, they do. Okay, let's see this. Okay, they swap the cast, they go Soj, but the ideas are mostly the same. I don't love this Lucio split. I think this is too far. Right, this Lucio Soj split is too far in my opinion. Like, this was just really risky. Like, I would call this more of a choke on the red team than a good play from the blue team. But then again, like, they just web really well, right? Like, their Reaper and their Mauga just kind of create this, like, circle of death, right? Where it's like, look at their team, right? It's like here and here, and then anyone with, like, in this area just insta dies, right? And the Reaper does a good job with the ult. Yeah, they just over push. Like, they just play tiny room versus Reaper, right? Out of LOS 13, like their Mauga just feeds. Right, they just need to play an open space, right? The Genji, the Vendetta, and the Shion want to play in open space. They don't want to play in little space. So this is just a mistake on their end, but like, they got lucky because this is bad, right? Open space, right? You see this open space that they enter, and the Shion and the Vendetta almost get these kills. Like, this is just a choke on red. So how blue should have played this? Let's just look at this from blue's POV. Okay. Enemy team is set up as so, right? I think blue should probably start relatively stacked. I would say maybe these three go left and then these two go right, or vice versa. And then in this mid, like, team fight chaos, right, once the enemy team engages, they look to either make that web and spread out, or if we win this space, then let's just say the enemy team, like, you know, the Mauga loses the front to back, which they should because we have a Reaper and they don't. They can concede the space here. Then our Soj Lucio can look to swing out here while our Reaper and Mauga go here. And, like, this is close enough, right? This is connected enough to support each other. This is too far, right? Only time I would do this is if we're doing an OC play, right? If we want to OC from an angle and just get picks, but the Sojourner needs to be sneaky, right, in this situation if we're OCing, right? The Sojourner needs to be really sneaky, not peek. Our Mauga runs in aggressively into this space, and then our Soj OCs. So yeah, that's kind of all for me. Check out the notes. I would say there's more detail on specifically counter-comping and kind of like what kind of happened. But this is like what they did really well and how I think we should beat it.